If I had to ask you to rank your priorities in life in terms of business, family, community, and yourself, so many people would put themselves as priority number 4, and proudly so. And I always say to them, well, if you're putting yourself as priority number 4 in your life, you're scraping the barrel of energy. All I'm saying to you is you need to find the time for yourself to do this type of work. Because if you're constantly pushing yourself to the bottom of the barrel in terms of your priorities of time, this sort of work never gets done because you're just going to remain on that treadmill of unhappiness. Welcome back to the Thoughtonomy Podcast, where we want you to think for yourself in a world that wants to do it for you. And I'm going to be talking today about living a life of purpose. You know, as a coach, I quite often sit with people, even just sitting with friends and discussing life in general, and we have those deep conversations. It always comes back to this, well, I don't know what my why is. I don't know what my purpose is. How would I find my purpose? Grant, you always talk about living a life of purpose. How do you do it? So what I thought I'd do today is just try and discuss a few concepts surrounded by a concept called Ikigai. I don't know if you've heard about it before. There's actually an entire book that's been written on Ikigai, spelled Ikigai. It's a Japanese word. It comes from Japan. And essentially, there's no true or proper English translation for the word. But if you break down the word Ikigai, Gai, G-A-I, means reason, and Iki, I-K-I, means to live. So loosely translated, Ikigai means a reason to live. And it comes down through Japanese history and in Japanese philosophy of life is so much more happier when you're living with purpose. Now, doesn't that make sense? Like, if we really had a purpose behind everything that we're doing, we really would believe like all aspects of our life are coming together and we are serving our true purpose of fulfilling our potential here on earth. But quite often people look and they go, well, can you explain it a little bit more? Like, I don't understand how. So let's start off by looking at this concept of Ikigai, because what it does is it kind of overlocks or brings together 4 aspects of your life, which I'm going to talk about right now. And the number one is, what do you love? What is it that you love? What is your passion? I'll come back to all of them now, but firstly, figure out what is it that you love. Secondly, what am I good at? My vocation. What is that particular set of skills that sets me apart? What am I really good at? Number 3 is it's almost like a mission. It's like, what is the world needs? And what can I provide to the world to solve that problem? And the 4th one, which is your vocation, is can I get paid for it? So let's go through all those 4 again. What do I love? What am I good at? What does the world need? And what can I get paid for? Now, when we can overlap and combine all elements of this is where the Japanese concept of Ikigai kicks in, where you are living a life of purpose or you're living with a reason. And I'll give you an example. So let's go through those 4 again. I'm just going to use myself because I don't want to bring up a fabricated example. But number 1, what do you love? I love music. I really do. I could sit at home and I don't have to put the TV on. I love listening to music. I've got a guitar at home which I can strum. I've got an app on my phone. I can kind of figure out the chords for any song. There's not many chords. There's 5 or 6 chords that if you learn, you can put together and play most popular songs that you know. And I've got a set of electric drums. I used to play drums when I was young. So let's look at this concept of can I spend my life being a musician? So what do I love? I absolutely love music. I do love music. What does the world need? Does the world need musicians? Well, obviously, like everyone loves listening to music. Can you get paid for it? Can I get paid to musician? Yes. The 4th one, are you good at it? Well, probably not. Average at best. I'm never going to get up on stage and sing. I don't have a voice to sing. I can play a few chords, but if I'm realistic about it, I'm an at-home guitarist, and in terms of drumming, I can drum, but I'm never going to do these elaborate riffs and drum beats that I watch some guys doing on Instagram. Let's use another example. What do you love, Grant? Well, I love animals. Okay, I really do. I love animals. Am I good at looking after animals? Yeah, absolutely. I'll take care of an animal. I'll have a dog or a cat. I don't have one at the moment, but I have in the past, and I love them. I love animals. I'm good at looking after them. Does the world need people looking after animals? Of course. Think of all the stray dogs and the stray cats and the and animals out there who need rescuing. Can I get paid for it? Well, now that becomes a different conversation. So I could have found what I love and what I'm good at, but if I can't earn money from it, life's going to be tough. Unless I've got money and I want to volunteer for the rest of my life, different story. So as you're sitting there right now at home and you're listening to this or you're driving in the car, start ticking off all these aspects. Because the thing that you love most, that's your passion. That's, for me, probably the most powerful thing. Imagine if you could get into a vocation or get into a situation where you're using your particular set of skills, you're getting paid for it, and you're doing what you love. But you got to know what your passion is. So a lot of people will say to me, Grant, but I don't know what that is. And that's when, again, this book comes into play. There's an entire chapter in Thoughtonomy which talks about how important it is to know who you are and to love who you are. So many of us have just lived our lives based on the conditioning and the thought process and on the belief systems that have been instilled in us in the early years of our life. And we've had these thoughts and beliefs repeated so many times by our parents and our caregivers, our friends and the people who have influenced us that we believe them to be true. And we think these thoughts and we live by these beliefs as if they are our own. But I always say, are those thoughts and beliefs serving you well? So if you're unhappy in your life right now, the first place you go to is, am I leading my life of purpose based on who I am and not the thoughts and beliefs of other people? So taking that step back to unlearning all the thoughts and belief systems that you've always believed to be your own and starting to identify who it is that you are is probably really, really the most important step in this. And in terms of going back and identifying your passion, because if I'm talking to you now and I'm going, what do you love? Like, what is it that you love doing? What is it, that thing that you do where time just flies by? It doesn't matter how long it takes. You love what you do. Time just absolutely flies by. You're so good at it. It just comes naturally to you. And in the moment when you're doing that particular thing, you're in your happy place. Those are the things that you have to discover about yourself, and that there's a big part of going back to learn who I am and what aspects of my life make me happy. When am I most excited? When am I feeling most passionate? If you don't know that, that's the internal work that you have to do to go and figure this out for yourself. So that's the first thing, is what is it that I love? What is my passion? Secondly, you might be going, but I don't know what I'm good at. Well, there must be something. We're all born with individual and unique talents. You may be doing something in your life right now that doesn't highlight or show off the skills and talents that you have, but we're all good at something. What is it that you're good at? And again, maybe go back and write down, in terms of this introspective, self-reflective work that you need to do, and write a list of all the things that you're good at. You're going to write your list about what you love, and you're going to list all the things that you're passionate about, and then you're going to start writing a list of all the things that you're good at. And you might have to work a little bit harder, particularly if you've been doing something that you don't love for a long period of time. But coming back to who you are is, again, just spending that time alone with yourself and making lists of all these things that you're really, really good at. All right? What does the world need? Well, that's your mission. All right? What can I do? Where are there problems that need to be solved in the world? And how can I combine my talents and what I love with what the world needs? And then, of course, ultimately, from a vocation perspective, what can I get paid for? Is there a possibility for me to take all of this, combine it, and earn a living from it? And when we get to overlap all four aspects of our life, this concept of Ikigai comes together. Now, again, there's probably people going, yeah, Grant, you make sense. Now, I understand this, and thank you for sharing this with me, but I'm still stuck on the how. So again, in the book, in Thoughtonomy, there's an entire chapter that is dedicated to going back to learning about yourself and starting to love who you are. And it takes time, right? It takes time for you to do that. A lot of you out there are parents, your husbands, your wives, your brothers, your sisters, your friends. You are work colleagues. You're probably looking after people in your life. You're mentoring people. You're helping people out on a daily basis. My first question to you is, how much time are you giving to yourself, for yourself? And again, there's something inherent in all of us. We're people pleasers. We are self-sacrificial. We've been conditioned to put others first. We've been conditioned to believe that if we put ourselves first, we are not giving enough to others. And I'm talking particularly to parents here. We're talking to parents who are doing everything for their kids, and it's admirable, and you're an amazing parent, and well done for doing that. That's exactly what's expected of you. But I always say to people, we need to just reframe and shift our thinking on this a little bit. If I had to ask you to rank your priorities in life in terms of business, family, community, and yourself, so many people would put themselves as priority number 4, and proudly so. And I always say to them, well, if you're putting yourself as priority number 4 in your life, you're scraping the barrel of energy. Where you place yourself in terms of that list of priorities has everything to do with keeping yourself filled with energy. And if you're placing yourself as your last priority, you're going to end up in a doctor's office one day, on a hospital bed, or drinking copious amounts of wine. So what I say to people is there's nothing wrong, there's nothing arrogant about saying that you place yourself first. All I'm saying to you is you need to find the time for yourself to do this type of work. Because if you're constantly pushing yourself to the bottom of the barrel in terms of your priorities of time, this sort of work never gets done, because you're just going to remain on that treadmill of unhappiness. You're going to remain on that treadmill of waking up at 6 a.m. and getting on with your day, running around everybody else. So what I try and ask people, or what I do ask people to do, is to make sure that they give themselves a little bit of time every single day, and you put it into your diary first. You give yourself that time first. So what is it? Like, what time of the day is going to suit you? Is it going to be first thing when you get up? Maybe you got to get up an hour earlier so that you can sit in self-reflection. Start practicing mindfulness. Maybe you want to meditate when you wake up in the morning, or read an amazing book. Maybe you want to sit and write your lists alone when the kids haven't even got up yet. You get yourself a cup of coffee and you give yourself that time to start going to work on yourself, doing whatever it is that fuels you and gives you energy. It might be going for a walk and watching the sunrise. We have to, as human beings, we have to all understand that if we don't give ourselves this time to work on ourselves first, we're never going to get to this, which means we're going to be on this treadmill constantly of potentially unhappiness. So, practicing mindfulness, being in the present moment, giving yourself that time to sit down and reflect on things like gratitude, things like what am I passionate about? Sitting and working out, who is this person who's been living their life for the last 20, 30 years with the thoughts and the conditioning of other people that is no longer serving me well. You'll never break out of that trap if you don't find, or you don't take the decision to give yourself that time first. So I guess that's my message for today is everybody talks about, I've got to live a life of purpose. So many people don't understand what that means. And I hope using the concept of Ikigai has given you a little bit of guidelines as to how we can take these 4 aspects of my life. What do I love? What is my passion? What am I good at? What does the world need? And can I get paid for it? But even if you start with the first 2, which are the most important, what is my passion? What makes me feel most alive? If you don't know that, you need to go and do the work. You need to give yourself the time to sit alone and to be with yourself. Spending time with yourself is so important. And then go and do whatever fuels you, whatever makes you feel alive. And maybe going and doing a walk on the promenade in the morning and watching the sun come up, or maybe sitting in the evening with a glass of wine and watching a sunset makes you feel most alive. Just don't feel guilty for giving that time to yourself. And spend your time writing lists of gratitude. Gratitude's powerful. And again, I mentioned this. I've got a whole morning routine that I talk about in the book, where you wake up in the morning and you start with gratitude. You write lists of everything that you have in your life already that you're grateful for. But then we can extend it into your passions and the things that you're good at. And really get to know, once again, who you are. Because once you know who you are, then you'll start figuring out exactly what it is that you want for your life. And when you start loving that and loving the concept of loving yourself, once you know what you want, then you move towards it with confidence and you won't worry as much about the opinion of others. So I hope this has helped. Reach out, give us some comments. If you haven't read the book, Thoughtonomy is always available on the website, thoughtonomybook.co.za, and we'll catch you for the next episode.